In a tumultuous 1.5-year relationship, I constantly battled anger and insecurity, often hurting my girlfriend. Despite therapy and heartfelt efforts, our cycle of fighting and apologies drained me. All my efforts meant nothing, she said, as I felt hope slip away. Now on a break, I grapple with whether to fix what we broke or walk away for good. Summary: I have been in a relationship where I faced challenges with anger, insecurity, and communication, often hurting my girlfriend. Despite attending therapy and making sincere efforts to improve, the cycle of conflicts and subsequent apologies continued. Matters escalated, leading to an emotional breakdown, including instances of self-harm. Currently, we are on a break and I feel disconnected, exhausted, and adrift. I am unsure if I want to mend our relationship, nor do I possess the energy to do so, yet I find it difficult to leave. I am seeking advice. I am a 22-year-old male, my girlfriend is a 20-year-old female, and we have been together for 1.5 years. Initially, our relationship was positive, but it gradually became marked by frequent arguments, primarily stemming from my issues with communication, anger, and insecurity. During disputes, I often inflicted emotional pain on her, only to recognize my wrongdoing afterward. Eventually, I began therapy where I discovered that my reactions were linked to childhood experiences. Growing up feeling unloved led me to seek emotional security in relationships. When I felt misunderstood or threatened, I would lash out. Therapy has aided me in managing my anger and responding more appropriately. Nevertheless, a painful cycle persisted. I would hurt her, she would retaliate, we would both apologize, and I would vow to improve. Despite my consistent self-improvement efforts, I found myself repeating the same mistakes. I rarely sought apologies, believing I did not deserve them, which fostered a sense of unfairness within me. I have strived to grow and become a better person, but the pain we have inflicted upon each other still weighs heavily on me, especially the hurt I caused her. I am not proud of my actions. Perhaps I deserved some of the pain that came back to me, but it continues to devastate me. In October, a few days before prom night, I hurt her again. I was angry, attributing blame to her for ruining my life and perceiving our relationship as unjust. I yelled at her for 2 hours over the phone, leaving her devastated. I expressed numerous apologies afterward, acknowledging my mistakes and staying by her side. I proposed to her at prom, but she did not appear as happy as I anticipated, given the turmoil we were experiencing. On prom night, I arrived 30 minutes late because she requested a last-minute shirt change and I became stuck in traffic. Upon my arrival, she was furious, and despite my attempts to calm her down, nothing worked. She said hurtful things, even telling me that I should not live, referring to me as my child, and causing physical pain with her nails in her frustration. Later, she calmed down and apologized. I attempted to move forward, but that night continues to trouble me. I continued to work on myself through therapy, and while I saw improvements, I still hurt her during our arguments. I would apologize, feel guilty, and inadvertently prevent her from apologizing. By January, our relationship seemed stable on the surface, but deep down I felt alienated. I was still hurt by past remarks and constantly pushed myself to ensure her happiness. Mid-month, I reached a breaking point, crying at night, self-harming twice, and feeling utterly drained. After an argument in which I was wrongfully accused, I snapped, yelled, and experienced an emotional breakdown. We reconciled as we always did, but this time I genuinely contemplated ending the relationship. I was exhausted mentally, emotionally, and in every aspect. She also faced her own struggles. She rarely articulated her feelings until they erupted as anger or resentment. I did not explain much and simply wanted to leave, which created turmoil. She apologized, pleaded with me to stay, and expressed that past events still troubled her. She regretted her desperate pleas during what she described as 10 days of hell. I became rude, impatient, angry, and lost all positivity. My words turned harsh, and I regret how much I hurt her. Eventually, we had a conversation. She acknowledged her mistakes as well, and I realized that I still cared deeply for her. It required significant effort from both of us to regain our footing, but we managed. It was challenging for me to pull myself back up, yet I did. For 3 months, February, March, and April, I worked diligently to become a better person. I focused on my well-being and hers, avoided anger, and remained gentle with her. Each day, I woke up determined to do my best, asking her about her feelings and doing everything within my power for her. I felt immense love for her, often crying for her and apologizing repeatedly. She too made efforts given her mental state, and I appreciated all she did. I made daily attempts to encourage her to talk and to feel better. I took her out to various places, did everything I could to uplift her, and every night I would inquire about her pain. She spoke, albeit sparingly. On a few occasions, she became triggered due to past experiences and hurt me with her words. However, I understood her perspective and accepted it, allowing her to express herself. She labeled me as a despicable person, a man-child, and claimed I should not be alive for causing her so much pain, among other hurtful assertions. She voiced suicidal thoughts. I listened and stayed close to her. She began discussing breaking up, overwhelmed by everything. I maintained my calm and gentle demeanor despite the deep hurt within me. I did not lash out or become angry even once during those months. Yet, even minor mistakes on my part could trigger her intensely, making it very difficult to handle. There was only one instance where I became angry, when she emotionally pushed me during a vulnerable moment. She exhibited little care because she was still hurting. That incident fostered mutual understanding, but her previous words lingered in my mind. She had said she did not care about me, that I did not deserve an apology, and that even if she moved on, she still would not offer one. I grasped the entirety of the situation. I knew that my January self greatly affected her. Afterward, she appeared never to be okay or normal. My efforts were directed at making her feel safe with me again, returning her to a state of normalcy. I did all I could over those 3 months, actively considering her needs, performing acts of kindness, and engaging in conversations about subjects she had previously mentioned that caused her distress. However, the situation remained unchanged. I was growing increasingly hurt inside, and I refrained from expressing my feelings to her because I did not want small apologies. I desired a time when she would be okay so that I could discuss matters with her. I had observed her mental state closely and understood that she lacked the patience to listen to me, and I was unwilling to experience further hurt by attempting to communicate. Gradually, I was making progress. While it was sometimes hit or miss, I kept attempting to communicate, though not about major issues, as I recognized she was not in a place to deal with them. I recalled her earlier comments about me, stating, "I will never listen to you or apologize." One night, she reiterated the same sentiment, and I was so deeply hurt and in shock that I ended up self-harming again. All those experiences stayed with me, and despite her asking me to discuss what troubled me, I chose to delay, intending to speak with her when she felt better. In the meantime, I experienced occasional pain, but I still felt immense love for her and appreciated being able to care for her through everything. In April, we argued when I addressed something that had hurt me, that she had previously told me to shut up and stop communicating. I did not want to bring it up at that moment, feeling the timing was inappropriate, yet she pressed me until I finally spoke out. She struggled to process my words and grew frustrated when I said, "You have not been able to assure me as much as you have dismissed me." She felt attacked and responded with anger. During that argument, she mentioned suicide. However, I was overwhelmed by everything else she was saying and could not focus on that particular remark. I also became frustrated and said something inconsiderate. The following day, I did not address her mention of suicide first. Instead, I asked for an apology, which made her feel like I did not care, resulting in another argument. I later understood my mistake and apologized, but by midnight, she had triggered again. She lost control, attributing all blame to me, hitting herself, cursing me, and making remarks like she wished for my death and that of my parents. This tumult lasted until 4 in the morning. She claimed that all my efforts were in vain and that my mistakes had driven her away even as I attempted to communicate. I accepted that I might have failed. However, she continued, cursing me and threatening to harm herself if I ended the call. She insisted that I must stay and allow her to hurt me because I was the reason for her condition. Ultimately, at 4:20 a.m., I ended the call, tears in my eyes. The next morning, I visited her home to discuss and persuade her not to break up with me. I believed it was the right thing to do because, despite everything, we still cared for one another. I clearly recognized my faults and the pain I had caused her. Setting aside the past, I simply wanted us to work things out. In the end, I managed to persuade her to stay. Since that time, I have not felt the same. While I succeeded in convincing her to remain in the relationship, I do not feel like the person I was before. All my hope has faded. I no longer feel as fully invested as I once did, and even the smallest efforts to mend things feel like an insurmountable challenge. It is overwhelming. I am not the person I used to be. I cannot go through everything again, even though she is still here. I feel awful and am reluctant to revisit the past efforts and attentiveness I displayed in February and March. I once had an abundance of love, hope, and energy, but I no longer possess that within me. However, leaving her also hurts. I do not understand why. I have aspirations and destinations I wish to reach, yet at this moment I feel buried in disappointment, believing I have let myself down so profoundly that even hoping for a better outcome feels disingenuous, as if I am deceiving myself. I am not the person I believed I was, and even though I have refrained from certain behaviors merely to survive, much of me feels lost. Every attempt to escape this situation feels like another distraction from confronting the reality of how broken I genuinely am. Currently, she and I are on a break, and I am trying to improve myself, hoping that feelings might return and emotional fatigue will dissipate. Yet, things are not progressing well. Last night, I self-harmed for no apparent reason. Thank you for reading this far. All I wish for from you is an opinion or perhaps some guidance that might assist me. Story 2. Thinking of leaving my boyfriend after 4 years because he can't get over my past while I'm a great mother. I wish he wanted a real marriage, not just a courthouse affair. Should I cut my losses for my child's sake or stay and hope for change? I am a 27-year-old female considering ending my relationship with my 26-year-old male boyfriend, but I am fearful because we have a 1-year-old child together. I personally come from a broken home with separated parents and do not want to put my daughter through a similar situation. There are numerous factors contributing to my feelings about leaving and many events that have occurred which have affected the state of our troubled relationship. I apologize in advance, as this is going to be quite a lengthy narrative. To begin, my boyfriend cheated on me and betrayed my trust early in our relationship. I discovered his infidelity when he confessed to it after we had been dating for nearly 7 months. Since this was my first relationship, it was, understandably, devastating, and it took a significant toll on my self-esteem. In hindsight, I realized that I remained in the relationship mainly because I feared losing him. I was almost certain he would reconnect with the woman he cheated on me with if I ended things. To my knowledge, he did not cheat on me again after that initial admission. Fast forward to 1 year and 5 months into our relationship, I ended things due to my religious convictions and deep dissatisfaction with our connection. He often viewed provocative pictures or videos of women on Instagram or TikTok without my knowledge, which further damaged my self-esteem and trust in him. It is worth noting that he had just emerged from an extremely toxic 3-year relationship with his former partner when we first met. Due to my poor boundaries and unresolved childhood trauma, I unfortunately tolerated his negative behavior, always hoping for improvement and change. He was heartbroken when we broke up, crying in my arms, and I too felt devastated. However, I could no longer endure feelings of unhappiness and worthlessness. We continued to see each other intermittently for a few months before eventually deciding to reunite. 1 month later, I discovered that I was pregnant, but by this time, the damage in our relationship was severe due to my boyfriend's controlling behavior. I had numerous personal issues to address, and on top of feeling religious guilt for becoming pregnant out of wedlock, I often did not want to engage in sexual activity with my boyfriend but did so nonetheless. This led to him feeling rejected and undesired, which prompted him to request a break. When I inquired whether he would be seeing other people during this time, he repeatedly denied it, only to later hook up with a woman he met on Tinder. Naturally, I felt incredibly devastated, angry, and resentful. My emotions were a tumultuous mix because I had never even been sure if I wanted children, and I now found myself in a situation I never intended to enter due to my poor choices and flawed romantic partner selection. He also exhibited emotional abuse throughout our relationship, making the prospect of having a child with him feel like a nightmare. My sadness and loneliness led me to even more poor decisions. After a month of being apart from my boyfriend, I reached out to a man I had previously hooked up with before entering my current relationship. Initially, I messaged him out of loneliness, but the conversation quickly escalated and we made plans to meet up. He was unaware that I was pregnant. I felt scared and hesitant, aware that my thoughts were wrong, and thankfully nothing occurred and I did not pursue any other encounters with anyone else. I felt immense shame even for entertaining the idea. After being alone for 3 months and beginning to let go of my anger towards my boyfriend, I finally spoke to him again because I did not want to bring our child into a tense situation with their father. We decided to attempt a reconciliation, and as I wanted to be honest about what had happened during our time apart, I disclosed reaching out to the other man. I knew this would upset him, and I preferred not to lie. He was extremely angry about my contemplation of having sex with another man while I was pregnant. He judged me harshly for my thoughts, and while I understand this is a questionable consideration, I recognize that part of his judgment derives from cultural expectations where women are held to one standard while men are given leeway. Ultimately, neither of us is blameless in this situation. Eventually, he chose to stay and work things out with me, but he has struggled to release his resentment. Since our baby was born, I have witnessed significant changes and growth in him. I also began attending therapy as I was grappling with postpartum issues, including persistent intrusive thoughts about him cheating and abandoning me during my pregnancy. I was mentally struggling and on the brink of a breakdown. Therapy has transformed my life. I no longer ruminate on my partner's past infidelities. I can genuinely say that I have regained confidence in myself and have fully forgiven him for his past actions while also addressing my own personal challenges to become a better person and parent. We still face relationship issues, and my boyfriend continues to grapple with resentment. Marriage is essential to me, and I have communicated this to my boyfriend. At this point, we have been together for nearly 4 years. He claims he is willing to marry me but is reluctant to have even a small public ceremony with family and friends due to his inability to overcome the thought of my considering sex with another person while pregnant. He acknowledges that I am a wonderful mother, states that he wants to remain in our relationship, and is open to a simple courthouse marriage. This is a concern for me, as I do not want to marry someone who seems ashamed of me due to past actions that cannot be altered. From my therapeutic experiences, I have learned that I cannot change my boyfriend's feelings. He must do the work himself to heal. This realization has led me to believe that I should end the relationship instead of waiting, hoping that one day he will want to publicly recognize me as his wife. I understand that my boyfriend's behavior has been unacceptable at times, and although he occasionally holds toxic beliefs, he has made substantial progress and shown a willingness to listen and understand the harm he inflicts. Should I simply cut my losses and leave? I want to demonstrate a healthy relationship and a positive version of love to our child, and I do not want my child to think that love must be earned. I realize this post is lengthy, and I thank anyone who reads it and provides advice in advance. In summary, I am contemplating ending a relationship marked by long-standing broken trust while fearing the repercussions, particularly concerning our child.